Well, it's time to build some egg hutches. We'll just start from the beginning with the base and go all the way through. I did a good bit of research on the internet, did not find a lot of content in terms of step-by-step. I saw a lot of good videos on what people have built, also what you can buy. You can also buy egg hutches online, and I saw them ranging anywhere from $250, $400, $600, and more dollars. What I wanted to do is to build my version of a rollaway hutch, and I'm building two of those, and I want to collect the eggs from outside of the coop. I don't want to enter the coop to collect eggs. There was quite a few that I saw where you could actually have the rollaway hutch, you could insert it into your coop, but you're collecting the eggs from inside. This is a step-by-step guide. I hope you enjoy it. Please like the video if you can, if you enjoy it. Offer comments. I'd love to hear your suggestions, your opinions. So let's get going. I want to start by showing you the base. I'd mentioned that it was 25-ish inches deep. That would be from the coop opening to the back of the hutch. And you can see from the speed square I have put up here that it is a fair amount of an angle. I cut this at 5 degrees on the miter saw, then covered it in PVC coated hardware cloth. I know this looks a little large, and it probably is, but it's my attempt at doing this. Coop side, just mentioned this is the top. I cut this with an angle grinder. I didn't cut it until I had it all stapled down. I did put cross bracing at about the location of where the dividers will be for the 3 bays. So here's the first one. I have quite a few angles here. Obviously this is a 90. I am 25 inches to this tip here. This is a 26-degree angle. Probably seems a little steep, but I really wanted that water to come on off pretty quick. I used pocket hole joinery on the inside of this. Didn't want any of it on the outside. This is the end that will attach to the coop itself. And I cut these pieces at the top. I cut it at the same 26-degree angle. I also added a back piece, cut it at 26 degrees, and then I inset it a 1/2 inch so I could put this ply. And all of this will be painted, so this is not treated, but it will certainly be painted and covered in a way to keep it from rotting. This will be trimmed out. This will be trimmed out. And I want to point out right here, since I had already mentioned that the base is at a 5-degree cut, when I built this up to catch the eggs, I also made a 5-degree cut here so that I can trim this out without it being a problem. The only thing I've not built yet for this one is I will hinge it here, put a cover with a handle, and this is how we will lift up to gather the eggs. Coming around to the front, the side that will connect to the coop, this is again what I showed you earlier. I want to point out that when the hen is laying here, lays an egg, I angled this at 50 degrees. Just in case an egg were to get caught here, I wanted to have a better chance of rolling to the back, away from the hens. I did that on both sides. Pocket joinery here, that will be hid when it attaches to the coop. Now, there's a lot of different varieties of how you can do your dividers. What I did was cut this at the same angle as this roof. I dropped it lower so it would not interfere. I put these pieces of trim there, these pieces of trim here, and then if I want to remove this, I can just grab it and pull it out. And again, these can be painted. They'll always be on the dry. When you go to put it back in, it's a tight fit. Both of them are just like that. Coming back to this side, again, I used a regular grade plywood, but this will be painted. Most of this is treated on the outside. This base is treated. This is some of my sawmill lumber here. I want to point out that I also drilled about 2/3 of this down with an oversized bit, and then I drove a 2.5-inch screw that terminates down into here. Again, you can see this is flat because they're both cut at 5 degrees. This will be trimmed out. I will come here with a metal roof, probably 1.5 inches, maybe 1 inch overhang, and then this piece that I will build, it will lift up and it will not interfere with the top of this roof. So there it is. Looks a little overbuilt, I know. but it's my version of a rollaway, and I feel like that this is enough of an angle. We'll know when we get it done. My distance here is roughly 2.5 inches, and it goes down, as you can see back there, 2.5 inch to 1/2 inch, not 2.5 inch. And that's on both sides. All right, we'll get busy. I left a couple of details out, so let me cover that real quick. You see this mark right here? When I go to attach this to the coop, I'm actually going to raise this opening on the coop. I'm going to raise it to here. So meaning this will drop down that 1 inch. I want the chickens to actually step over into this. And if that's not enough and they don't feel like they have enough privacy, then I can add a board here. And that's again why I put this short in case I need to add one all the way across. The last thing is I have 8-inch rubber mat that I will put in each of these so that the girls are a little more comfortable. Next thing I've completed is I did put a top on the egg rollaway section. Cut this out of cedar, rough sawn. I'll need to do some type of latch. Raccoons having thumbs and all the mischief they get into. Also did a 5-degree cut, back cut right here. Wanted this to sit as flush as I could get it. And it started off that way, but you can see there's a little crack there. It's okay. With the amount of overhang that I'll do from this roof, it'll come out long enough. I should be able to keep water out of the egg area. I'm going to call this one done for now until I actually get it mounted in the coop. I want to wait on the roof. I want to wait and trimming this out. Probably going to trim this out, just band it with cedar, kind of make this a whole feature as the box for the egg area. And also I need to paint this before I put a roof on. No need fighting that. So this one's ready, and I plan on walking you through more of my steps on building the second one now that I've worked out, I hope, many of the kinks that I learned in doing this one. I actually started by drawing a template that I wanted to use. It's rough, but it's okay. This says 22, but I actually made them 25, as I pointed out in the first build. I'll set these up. This is a 26-degree angle cut here. This will be the side panel that goes on that platform there. The way I set this up, let's go ahead and get my marks fairly close. And the reason I'm doing this is just so I can take measurements across here. Again, this is my platform that I built. It's over on the other workbench. This is a 3.25 inch opening for the eggs to roll into this area here. This will be the back, and as I pointed out on the other hutch, I'll build a hatch door built out of cedar that lifts up. What I like to do is just check my work as I go. No need putting all this pressure on this wood and then realize you're going to have to bend it more into square. All right, I've got both of these put together, and now it's time to skin them. On the first one, I used 1/2 inch. I think I'm gonna do 1/4 inch on this one. So the way I did this, I traced them, and then I did 2 cuts. I did this cut and this cut on the table saw. I did this cut here with a track saw. All right, both side partitions are done. skinned. It's as close to square as it's going to get. Now let me just show you what I'm doing. I know I got this set up on a makeshift thing. But the reason for this is to make this square. I want this to be a true 90-degree setup before I go and actually mount these side partitions. So I have this mocked up where I get these as close to where I want them on both sides. Then I am checking again the square. My next job will be to clamp these, get them tight, and then I'll lean these up so I can come from this back side underneath and secure them with 2.5-inch screws. Next, I'm going to do this top piece. Again, I measured this from the bottom instead of from the top because you could have a variation. Also put the same 26-degree angle. So again, measure from the bottom, 41 7/16. When you come up to the top, you'll notice that it is a 1/16 shy of that. So ignore that mark. Take this one as that's what you want this to be in the end. Let's cover where we're at. I'm now going to do the bottom piece of wood. Cut this out of some sawmill lumber. Yes, it's pitted, but I think it adds character. It's just right. So this is what is this? 2 inches. 2 inches square. I set these marks here at 3 1/8 on both sides, 3 1/8. This will set to the top of that line like so. Reason for that is the eggs will roll away to here, to this chamber, which is roughly 6 1/4 deep. At this point, I want to inset this board the thickness of the back panel that I will put in, which is this 1/2 inch, and nothing's really what it says it is. So that is almost right there. That may be just a little thick. I'm gonna take this and mark this on the inside so that we have a mark. Just gonna mark that right there. And I will do that on both sides. And that's how far I will inset a piece of wood. If you own a table saw, do you ever check it for square? Like this thin cut. And it's the same. I know the chickens don't care, but I do. I want this piece to be square. Both sides. I find that I have to chase the wood less if I clamp it after I get it just right and square. It just seems to stay in place more. Doing the top piece now on the back. Again, I cut this with 26-degree angle. And then also set this up where it is flush with this back piece that goes across here. Everything is set. I've got it clamped to keep it from running on me. I don't want to chase it. And I will put in the screws, secure it. With this bottom base, it is definitely 5 degrees. It's not much there, but over a span of 25 inches. All of these are cut at 5 degrees so that we are flush when we mount this to the coop. We're 26 degrees here, and if you just take your speed square, run it up until you're flush, you're at 26 degrees. We've secured the front, which will be a mounting point to the coop here as well as here. The back 2 supports are in place. This partition piece will be 1/2 inch. It will go to the edge of this. I have 3 1/8 inches here. I'll build a border across here, just like I did on the first one, and come back toward the end, put in removable partitions here to separate the 3 Hutch sitting locations. All right, this back panel is on. I think that turned out nice. Flush. Now this is a little proud of that. Right here. May sand that a little bit. Other side turned out fine. We're ready to build this border, which is the egg collection area. Here's the first one again. We'll do something very similar. So I'm at the point now I'm ready to make these back borders for the egg collection area. First thing I do is the 5-degree cut so that when you do get your fit right, it is a perfectly flat cut so that you can trim that out. Here's what I want to point out. Once you get this cut down to the thickness that will go under here so you can secure it, based on the fact that it still has an incline of 5 degrees, it's not going to always go. So you can see how this one stops. You can see here, part of this wood is off. See, that's at an angle. I'll take it over to the joiner and I'll show you what I'm doing. At this point, what I'm going to do is put it through the joiner, but only for about 4 inches. Just eyeball it 3.5 to 4 inches. Then I'm going to lift it up. Do it in a way to keep my fingers out of the way. After I cut this and put it on the joiner, just about 4 inches to get that slight angle profile. There's a couple more angle cuts I make, and that is a 50-degree cut point to, well, from short point to the long point. Then after that 50-degree cut, I come back. You can see the location right here. I come back with a 35-degree cut. And the reason for this is when I put it in place and get this exactly where it goes, I get this lined up, then this is what I want to avoid. I want to avoid an egg getting stuck at that corner. So that's the reason I'm making both of these 50 and then 35-degree cuts, so that if an egg does get wedged there, hopefully it will roll on down to the bottom. Next thing I'm gonna do is drill the oversized hole about 2/3 down. Purpose of that is so I can get a 2.5, 3-inch screw through here into that next piece of wood, which is the base on the coop egg gathering location. I'll do one of these on each on the back. And on the inside where I have the 50 and 35-degree, I will put a couple of pilot holes so that that affixes to the outside of the hutch. Got the dividers in, but I also did these different instead of 1/2 inch. I went with 1/4 inch, and they are tight. I did notch them in the back. They'll come out and go right back in. All right, we're getting close on the second egg hutch. We need to work on the lid now for the egg collection area. The lumber I'm using is rough sawn cedar. It's about 8 inches wide, which maxes out my joiner. First thing that I've done, I ran this edge through the joiner to get it smooth, and then laid this side down to get it smooth. Now I have a perfect 90 opposing edges here. The next thing I want to do, and I had a challenge on the first one, my cut got off, ended up having to do a good bit of work by hand to get it corrected. Most likely my fault, but I want to resaw this now. And this is too thick, it's roughly 2 inches. I need it to be more like 5/8 for the lid. So I'll overcut it a little bit on the resaw and then join it out or plane it out to get it where it needs to be. 14-inch bandsaw, it's a little more than 20 years old. It still works. I believe I need a blade. I'm struggling with some of these cuts. Seems like I'm pushing more than I should. The first lid that I cut for the first egg hutch, free-handed it, and obviously my cut got off. I had to do a good bit of handwork to get it where it needs to go. This time I'm gonna do it a little different. I'm gonna go ahead and use a feather board. This is a feather board that I really use more on my table saw, but I flipped it and made it where it will work for this, or at least I believe it will. We're gonna try it, push it through here, and hopefully my cut's gonna be fairly close to what it needs to be, and then I can finish flattening it out on the joiner or the planer. Here's the second one. I even put the padding in. It's 1/4 inch. It's just an exercise mat I ordered on Amazon. Did finish the lid. It is cedar, 7.5 inches wide here. About 5/8, maybe a little more on this one. The other one's 5/8. Put the hinges on, recess those, and about to stain that part of the cedar lid. Okay. Tung oil. That's what I put on the lid. Staple it in where I had some wood, but the rest of it just lays down. Goes back to the area where the eggs lay. All right, I have a coat of primer, and this is oil-based primer. Put on both of these, and also tung oil. Had mentioned that previously. Have that here. Certainly I need to do the inside of this. Just want to get this painting finished. So we have both of these built. Next stage will be put the final coat and then get them installed. After I get them installed, I'll come back and add some red curtains in here. Hope you like this step-by-step. Please offer comments, like the video, and we'll see you on the next one.